Greetings. So I've been asked quite a few times as to how I get such fine lines out of a Hunt Speedball 102 nib. And I get the impression that the Hunt Speedball 102 nib is something like the Chevy Cavalier or the Kia Optima subcompact level of art supplies, because they're inexpensive, they're mass produced, and they're relatively cheap. However, as much as that might be true for the Hunt 102 nib straight out of the box, one of the advantages is the ability to modify art supplies. So that's one of the things that you find when you read about art supplies in history, in art history, is up until the mid to late 1700s, almost all art supplies had to be handcrafted. There was no formal, official manufacturing of art supplies. And even then, there were no universal standards or any kind of industrial standards for those art supplies. So you'd have all sorts of shady manufacturing of paints and inks. So in some ways, you kind of have to expect to modify your art supplies. Not often are they going to produce exactly what you want, how you want it, so you have to modify. And I've used the Hunt 102 for years, to varying degrees of success. And one of the things I've found out with the Hunt 102 is if you don't, I'll use this piece of paper for an example. So conventionally speaking, you draw like this, with the pen flat, instead of off to the side here or here. And you can change the sharpness of the pen point by changing your angle. However, I've never been satisfied with how those lines ever turned out. So what I've done here with this pen is, instead of drawing it from here, you draw it off to the side. Draw a little diagram here to give you an example. So there's the surface of the paper, and conventionally speaking, the face of the pen would be like this. How I've been drawing here is if I've been drawing like that. Pulling it that way instead of like this. And what happens with that is, when you look at the point, it wears in that direction. So rather than drawing it from this way, you turn it off to the side. Not entirely off to the side, but off to the side. And at that hard angle, well, that piece of crap just doesn't want to go away. You can see the angle of where the pen point is wearing down. So, it's not conclusive. I'll get into more details about this specifically, because you can change the character of the pen point using fine wet dry sandpaper to varying degrees of success. And there are other better brands, but I stick with the Hunt 102 because I like the idea of modifying the pen point. Sometimes you can get some surprising results. That you wouldn't get with a pen that works perfectly out of the box. Some level of the unexpected in modifying a pen point. It might not have when you modify the pen point, it might not have the characteristics you're looking for, but it might have some characteristics that work well later on, or something surprising. And you also have to deal with the variances in manufacturing processes. You would think that with manufacturing, things would be as close to identical as possible when they're fed through the assembly line, but that doesn't seem to be always the case. So, anyway. Something to think about.